Warning: this show may contain spoilers, adult content, and adult language, so viewer discretion is advised. This week on JoJo and the OP.
How did you feel watching these episodes?
My biggest thing I'm going to point out now, Dio's
Dick.
Wonderful.
Right.
Wonderful.
I did like how he demonstrated his power by punching a dick.
And now, onto the show.
And cut. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to JoJo and the OP. I am Thomas.
And I'm Tokyo Joe.
And we are back with some more JoJo for you. Today we watched episodes 4, 5, and 6, which honestly I thought were better than 1, 2, and 3.
Completely different ball game from the first 3 episodes. Definitely a lot more action going on, a lot more fighting.
Mm-hmm. Better fighting.
Introduction of secret techniques, as per anime.
Mm-hmm. Which I have some questions about that in the future, but we'll get to that later.
Yep. So basically we started with episode 4, which was Overdrive. It's the aftermaths of JoJo's house burning down after the Dio fight. He's recuperating in bed. He's actually being checked on by Arena, which is that girl that Dio stole a kiss from her in the first episode. Kind of goes into a little bit of a developing relationship thing between the two of them. Then it cuts to Dio encountering Jack the Ripper on the London streets and basically converting him into a servant. Then after that, JoJo and Arena are walking down a path and they encounter a strange fellow by the name of Baron Zeppeli, which his name is a play on Led Zeppelin. And basically he punches JoJo and heals his broken arm instantaneously. Then he demonstrates to JoJo that he has this special ability that he can do, and he explains that he's been chasing after the mask for centuries. He basically reveals that he and his father had found it on an archaeological dig. They were transporting the mask when it activated and turned everybody on board into vampires. He managed to escape the ship by jumping into the water. Had one last encounter with the vampires. One of them was about to get him, and just before it killed him, sunlight came out and destroyed it. But he managed to see that it was his father. So that basically drove him to want to correct what he's unleashed on the world. And basically this ability is similar to sunlight. So basically they can now attack with sunlight power. Then after that, they are making their way to Midnight Village. When their carriage passes through a tunnel, there they encounter Jack the Ripper. And JoJo's put to his first test by Baron Zeppeli.
That sure was a test.
Yeah. Then we cut to episode 5, which is Black Knights. They make it to Midnight Valley. Just as they're pulling into town, they're talking about how much sunlight they got, how easy it'll be to take Dio on while the sunlight's out, and they get robbed by a little boy. They give chase to him and manage to catch him, but by the time they manage to catch him, the sun starts going down and they find themselves ambushed in the middle of a graveyard. Dio appears and basically starts, giving a long flowery speech about how he's going to destroy them and make the world his. And he raises a bunch of zombies from the grave. After that, a fight ensues between Zeppeli and Dio, where Zeppeli thinks that they've got it covered with the sunlight power, Haman, but in actuality, Dio has a counter for it and freezes his arm. Then he basically raises these two knights from the dead. One of them is Tarkus, named after a Emerson, Lake and Palmer album called Tarkus. The other one is Blueford, but it's actually Bruford in Japan with an R, which is Bill Bruford, who is the drummer for Roundabout, or Yes, who they do the end song Roundabout.
Good song, good song.
Yep. Basically, they challenge JoJo to a fight, and it's Blueford versus JoJo first, where he manages to surprise him with his sword attack using his hair. He traps JoJo in the water, basically using it as an advantageous attack to prevent him from using the sunlight power because he has to breathe. And JoJo ends up basically besting him by, instead of swimming up to a certain doom, swimming down and finding a pocket of water pocket of air underneath a rock in the water. He smashes Blueford in the face with a turquoise blue overdrive, and that was the end of the episode. Then we cut to episode 6, which is Courage for Tomorrow. Blueford survives JoJo's punch. He captures JoJo and gets him tied up to a tree. He starts basically getting the life sucked out of him by Blueford's hair. He ends up outsmarting Blueford with a kick to his sword, transferring the sunlight energy through the sword as a conductor. They get into a small little scrap, and JoJo understands that Blueford's not exactly a complete slave to Dio anymore. He's kind of regained his humanity. So he makes a bold move and sacrifices himself, to which Blueford basically responds in oh, you're an honorable man. I could have killed you, but you were ready to die. So basically, I'm going to give up and just die now. He gives him his sword and adds a little indentation onto it. The sword said luck on the handle. He adds a P to it for pluck. Tarkus attacks. JoJo, Zeppeli, and the little boy end up making a daring escape by fusing a bunch of leaves together into a giant hang glider. Tarkus gives chase through the air, and they manage to make it to a basically a night training ground that was built into the side of the mountain where knights of the old days were trained to kill. They escape into it. JoJo gets trapped inside and gets a collar with a chain attached around his neck by Tarkus, and they're basically in a thing called the two-headed dragon, where they're each chained to each other by the neck, and one of them has to slay the other one to get out because they have each other's key in their collar. So Tarkus, being this big, oversized brute, starts by choking JoJo, yanking the chain all the way through, and if JoJo can't breathe, he can't develop his Hamon sunlight power. Poco, Speedwagon, and Zeppeli are on the outside, trying to figure out how to get in. Poco the boy has a little bit of a flashback, getting picked on, and his sister saving him. Yeah, definitely pissed his pants.
Oh, he did. I wasn't expecting that. Was not expecting that at all.
It was humorous. But he decides to get brave and climb through a window, and he opens the door to let Zeppeli and Speedwagon in. They basically get in there. Zeppeli basically remembers his past where he first learned how to use Hamon in India. He met a priest named Tom Petty, who's named after Tom Petty. He basically prophesizes that if he teaches Zeppeli how to use Hamon, it's basically sealing his fate. He's going to die one day because of it. He realizes this might be the day. They kick in Roundabout while he's coming to this conclusion and strides into the dungeon.
So dope.
It was dope.
That was so dope. Oh my god. That was an amazing ending.
It's seriously, I honestly got little prickles, hair standing up on the arms, ooh.
That was dope.
Yep.
God, we'll get into that, but God, that was dope. That was an ending. That was an ending for sure.
So, how did you feel watching these episodes?
My biggest thing I'm going to point out now, and we'll get into it a little bit as we continue this episode, but so the first 3 episodes, we were really hit with the idea of being a gentleman, right?
Right.
That's what the first 3 episodes were about, was about being a gentleman. Now, these 3 episodes, it was all about breathing.
I can agree with that.
It was just like, the first 3 episodes we were overwhelmed with being a gentleman, and these 3 episodes it was like, oh, but my breathing. Oh no, you must breathe. It's like, okay, we get you.
Even the scenes where he's like,
yeah. So like it was overwhelming with breathing, which I get it. That's what Hammond or Hammon or whatever it is about. But I did like these episodes. The 4th episode, not till the end.
It didn't quite kick into gear, but like he was still in recovery, and then he had to meet Zeppeli, which usually encounters that's not really anything interesting. And they did kind of speed through the training a little bit. They're like, oh, let's do like a slow montage where it's like this scene, and then we'll cut to this scene.
I just felt it all happened way too fast.
Right.
Like, it seemed rushed. And I don't know how, I don't know, it seemed off. It was rushed, I feel, and it just sort of seemed a little, like they could have had a little more exciting training, but it was just, it wasn't the worst, though. Like, I've seen worse, so.
Right.
Can't give it too much complaint. Yeah, so episode 1, that was episode 4. So 5 and 6, I liked better, for sure. They were both pretty dope. I think I like 5 better than 6, just for the fact that Dio was a badass, and we'll get into that on that episode.
Right.
The one thing, starting off with episode 4, Speedwagon was just like all Sherlock's Holmes and a creeper. I wonder how JoJo's doing. Oh, he is fine. There's a fair maiden in here. Like, oh, what is this? A light's on. Oh, let me peek in. Oh, a lady. He's fine. Yo, you're trying too hard, Speedwagon.
Right. And, dude, it killed me at the beginning of that. And he's like, Spirit! That's what he needs, so I'm gonna give it to him.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my god.
It was nice to see, what's her name? Arena? Nice to see her. I was, since you brought the whole, but it's me, Dio meme, I was sort of waiting for like when he caught her to be like, oh, you caught me, but it's me, Dio, or something. But yeah, so she has been taking care of him, which is, it's cool to see her back, Like, I was glad to see her back. I want to know more why she just disappeared. I mean, Dio screwed up, but why did she leave?
Right.
So
I don't know. Maybe it was embarrassment. I think back in those days, like purity was this whole thing. So like
that makes sense. This is the 1800s.
Yeah, maybe she felt like tarnished or something and didn't want to be around JoJo or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just wonder, how did she appear to know that he was injured and tend to his wounds?
Yeah, and how did she go to the spot that Speedwagon brought him to? That's the big question. Like,
right.
Anime. That's the answer. It's anime.
You're asking too many questions.
Pretty much. Gonna start having some knocks on the door.
Right.
I was super glad to see Jack the Ripper back. Like,
right.
I'm glad they brought up Jack the Ripper, and then they actually brought him into it, because I've always liked Jack the Ripper. He's just such an iconic serial killer. Like, you can't mention him and then not bring him up. So I am really glad they brought him up, and I feel, I don't know, he was dope, but I feel they did him dirty. Like, he should have had a comeback.
Well, I mean, he did kind of have a comeback at the end of the episode.
Yeah, but
I mean, dude, seriously, we're jumping ahead on this one, but like, he came out of a fucking horse.
Yeah, but I was just hoping it'd be one of those scenes where, like, when we're jumping ahead again, but like when Broodford and them were attacking, it'd be like, here comes Jack the Ripper, like, this is my kill, and they sort of duke it out for the JoJo kill. But like, no, of course, JoJo did destroy him. Oh my god. We'll get into that here in a bit.
Yep.
It was nice to see Jack the Ripper. I'm appreciative that they mentioned him and then brought him in, because I would have been very disappointed if we didn't see any Jack the Ripper.
Right. Now, how do you feel about him just willingly going along with Dio?
I mean, he used the mind control.
Oh, that's fair.
Like, he probably wasn't really strong-minded, just like a serial killer. Like, I mean, Dio's got that strong mind control, so even then, I feel like he probably would have. Maybe? I don't know. Good question.
All right. So then we had the encounter with Baron Zeppeli.
Oh god, yeah. You! Kabam! Pinky stab in the gut, then, oh, my hand's fixed.
Right?
You have magical powers, JoJo!
Now, that pinky stab thing, very reminiscent of the Hidden Finger Jutsu, 1,000 Years of Death.
Yes.
Like, but to the gut instead of the butt.
Yeah. He was a funny character. I was very questioning of his character. Like, is he a good guy? Bad guy? Like, I was questioning whether he was good or not. Because he just sort of came out of nowhere and was like, Shabam, hey, now you got powers. Like, I'm going to train you just because I want to fight something. Like, I was expecting one of those, like, okay, now that I've trained you, I'm the bad guy, let's fight. Now that you're strong, I want to fight you.
It kind of was, to me, was like reminiscent of a Tingle type character from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
He was very odd, especially the way he kept like poofing off into the air and landing and just
that
his
was
mannerisms.
His Hammond, or Haman, which he mentioned two different names. First he said Sendo.
Right.
Then he said Haman, and then they just continued with Haman and never said Sendo again. What is the difference there?
I think Sendo is the ripple energy, and Haman is the power that powers that attack. So,
okay.
So it's like Sendo would be the style of martial arts, and Haman is the power.
Okay. Yeah, because I was very confused with that. Because he said Sendo, then it's Haman, and of course they all have all these really crazy overdrive, purple, blue, overdrive.
Oh,
baby.
dude.
God, it's so...
It kind of reminded me of Demon Slayer, honestly, because with Demon Slayer, when he went through his training in the mountains, it kind of just cut ahead, and then all of a sudden he knows how to do his, twirling tornado sword slash that he uses to break the rock,
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just screams out that attack like, wait, when did he learn this? Why are we screaming out names?
His little flashback was pretty cool. Like, oh yeah, we brought this mask into the world. Haha. And yeah, then it was my father. Ah.
Your father almost killed you.
Hey, look, another shitty anime father.
Right? Just gonna make a list here of shitty anime fathers, and we're gonna have to put those on a tier list.
The only good anime fathers are the non-fathers, like Piccolo. I mean, I guess we really can't say he was a bad father. He just got overpriced with greed or wanting to know what that mask did, and then of course, he was overcome with the mask and a bloodthirsty vampire, so, he didn't have the will to control the mask.
Right.
I mean, it's an interesting little twist and a good way to throw him in there. Like, oh, this is why I'm on this mission. Aha.
Yep. I did like how he demonstrated his power by punching a frog and splitting the rock underneath it.
And the frog just plops down like nothing happened.
Yeah, and JoJo and Arena are freaking out like, no, don't!
Not the frog. Yeah, so we get like the little training montage, and then somehow Speedwagon's with us.
Yeah, basically he never leaves JoJo's side, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, he is like JoJo's
shadow.
Yeah, they go to that Wind Night village, and that's when we meet Jack the Ripper again. And oh my god, his entrance, beautiful. He just comes just like, oh man, what's going on? We've stopped. Oh, the horses are dead. Ah! As he just...
Right, he pokes his head out the horse's neck and then just leaps out.
Yeah. And it was funny because when we were watching this, you paused it, and it was the perfect moment because he was in like that God of War jump scene, just like, ah! Should have saved that so we could show it.
Yeah.
That was a good... But then, so you got Zeppeli just pouring wine and fighting him and drinking his wine, just like not even spilling a drop, like... Pretty badass.
Yeah.
Pretty badass.
And then basically Jack the Ripper pulls like the craziest move ever, sticks a huge knife through his neck,
dude,
and then proceeds to like flex his muscles, and then all these knives just pop out of his body everywhere. He basically is like a giant like spike ball at this point.
And then you have Speedwagon like, you didn't say nothing about fighting a pincushion. Because, yeah, he's just fucking full of knives. And then, yeah, so, like, Zappelli sort of, like, takes him out, and he's like, all right, well, he's going to come back up, so, oh, here you go, hands the glass of wine to JoJo and says, you kill him and, don't drop a drip of wine, or I'm abandoning you.
Right.
Which, it was interesting, because, like, he was saying some other stuff about, like, Viking thing, like, oh, the Vikings came from the north wind, and blah, 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 and, like, yeah, it was interesting that he was using that sort of, like, he gave him, like, these sort of cryptid messages.
Right.
To sort of understand how to properly use Haman. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and basically JoJo was able to understand that first he had to put out his torch because it made him a beacon. His enemy could see him, so he puts that out. And then he's like, oh, well, how am I supposed to see in the dark? And then he starts realizing, oh, well, I can feel the flow and ripple of energy through everything, you know. It's like, I know he's over there waiting for me. Yeah, basically uses that to, like, do a smash attack through the wall, like Zeppeli did with the frog, where he didn't break the wall, but the attack went through to the other side and exploded.
Twisted his neck. Oh,
like,
wow.
That was epic.
Oh, yeah. That was, and, like, the way they did it with the art style, just like, wow.
Yeah, a lot of detail went into the gore.
And yeah, that was pretty much the end of episode 1. It was pretty solid. Like I said, the beginning was sort of slow moving, and I feel like they sort of rushed the training and didn't really show much of a good training arc or anything. But yeah, of course, now the ending was pretty good. That was pretty dope. What about his Jack the Ripper's weapon thing? Like, he had like this like body cast freaking thing. I don't even know what it was.
Oh, I think that was basically something to like it'll snap around JoJo and basically pierce him on both sides.
That's what it looked like. At one point, he was flying down with it, trying to catch him, and then he was waiting for him to cross the wall so he could just wah.
Yeah, he's like, come on, come around the corner.
And then we go to the next episode, which first thing happens is they pretty much get just robbed by a kid.
Yeah. This kid comes slingshotting out of nowhere and just yank.
And they're like, oh, well, poor kid. He probably needs it.
Right?
Let's go get him.
Yeah, let's go get him. Dude, I had to pause the video because I was cracking up so hard because Zeppeli is like, oh, it's real easy, you know, you just walk across water.
Yeah. Here, let me. I have actually somewhat of an image of it, so let me hop over to that for the viewers. You can sort of see it. It's cut off a lot, but he's just sort of tiptoeing. He's sort of. It's funny. It's if you haven't seen the show and you haven't seen it, at least look up the clip of Zeppeli like walking on the water. Cause
he's literally got his fingers like this while he's doing it, and he's doing like these high tiptoe steps, and he's just like.
We were just dying laughing watching that because it was so funny. And then JoJo follows him. He's like, JoJo, pick up your feet more. That very gentleman leave you to get your shoes wet, or something in that general area. And I'm like, oh my god. And Speedwagon is just like, oh. Which I think before this, actually, you hear Speedwagon just, oh. And JoJo's like, what? He's like, oh, I figured I'd try to stab him with my pinky and get him his hormone powers, but it doesn't seem like he has any.
Speedwagon, useless as ever. And, like, I noticed that his hat disappeared, you know? Like, you don't see it after, like, the second episode, so basically he's just that guy that's like, go JoJo!
Yeah, he's his cheerleader. But, yeah, they get across the water, they sort of knock that boy down. But then it's like, oh no, it's a trap. Oh no, we're in a graveyard.
And Dio's just like, just standing on top of this pillar of rock with the moon behind him.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't like, it's just like, okay, you're literally telling JoJo in the previous episode to think about what's going on and make sure your surroundings. Like, you know you're getting ready to fight Dio. And, like, how do you completely miss the fact that you're walking into a graveyard?
Right? I mean, like, it wasn't like the boy was giving that bad of a chase to where you wouldn't notice your surroundings.
Yeah, but yeah, speaking of the Dio thing, here, I'm going to show that real quick. Epic, right? You see him up there in the moon, the moonlight and everything. He's just so epic looking. Like, wonderful.
Right.
Wonderful.
He's just got that elegant pose.
Yeah. Just, man, right in the moonlight is perfect. It is top notch. Golf clap.
Golf clap.
But yeah, so then they start fighting, and yeah, so what's his name? Zappelli, he was gonna do that stupid power, the sun power, and Dio's like, well, I've actually warmed up my blood, so you have nothing to do. Now it's gonna freeze your hand, and he freezes the dude's hand. And we're gonna jump over here real quick because I have a scene of that as well, and it is so he catches his hand, and this pose he does, just with his hand up catching him. Another wonderful Dio scene.
It's like I don't even have to put an effort. I'll have to put an effort to catch your hand. Just
Dude, and what about the stuff Dio was saying throughout this fight? Because he was just...
Dude, he was all sorts of epic this episode.
Just straight up like, you, fuck you, fuck you. He was killing it with the words. His little comebacks and everything, priceless. Like, there was that one where it was...
Zappelli's like, hey, why don't you come down here and fight us one-on-one, man-to-man? And he's like, oh, what was it? He goes, you dare to address me as such, insect? I am the pinnacle of creation. To mere humans, I am like unto a god. So why would I cavort in the filth with you?
Mm-hmm. It was dope. But then there was the one where Spelly's like, well, how many souls did you devour to be like that? And Dio's just like, well, how many loaves of bread did you eat this year?
Right?
Like, he's just dishing out. He's just like, yeah, fuck you, dude. What are you going to do?
I do what I want.
And then, he brings up those two knights, Ruford and Tarkus. My God. Tarkus was huge.
Like, do you think a person like that could have possibly existed in the past?
No.
Like, that size?
I mean, we have some big people in the world, but like in that age, no, because this is back in like Queen Elizabeth and Queen Mary shit.
Yeah, so I mean, like just food and health and stuff like that in general, like there is no way.
I mean, it's 100% possible. Probable? No, I don't think so.
And they said that JoJo stood 6 foot, so it's like if he's 6 feet tall.
That dude's
and this
12.
dude towers over him. Like, how big is that motherfucker?
Then his sword? Jesus
dude.
Christ, that thing's like double JoJo. That's 2 JoJos. That was huge.
But it almost kind of cracked me up because it wasn't a long sword. It was really kind of short. It kind of had like a point like this.
Just epicness throughout.
Okay, so what did you think of Bluford?
Bluford, interesting. He used his hair, which is so unnatural, but he gave him a pretty good fight. Like he definitely showed like he was a warrior in the past. Like the hair thing, of course, that's never would happen in a million years. But it was a cool little, I guess, thing. Yeah, he was pretty cool. I think
it was a cool tactic because basically he comes rushing at JoJo and he's got both arms behind his back, and JoJo's like, oh, I can't possibly tell how he's going to attack me because he's hiding his hands. How will he come, left or right? And then he just swings his hair, and there's a sword attached to it. He's like,
yeah. I just love it, like, because he keeps getting, like, JoJo in all these spots, and it's like, don't worry. JoJo can breathe. He'll make it out.
Right?
That's the one complaint I have about this episode, was there's a lot of, like, JoJo can breathe. He's okay. Whew.
Except when they got underwater, and he's sitting here like, well, I only have enough breath to get up to the water, but if I go up to the surface to get my breath, he'll kill me, because he doesn't need to breathe. He's dead.
Okay, but so how he figured out to, like, go underneath the ground, like, go down and just go, wow, it's it's an old coal mining place, they'll have a tunnel, blah, blah, blah. That made no sense. They do a little flashback where it's like, oh, I was playing with my dog and I couldn't get the toy back. Oh, JoJo, you're wrong. You're trying to take the toy. Well, just give him the toy. That makes no sense. I couldn't find a connection for him with that to, well, instead of going up, why don't I go down under the ground?
I think it meant basically like you're fighting him by going up, give it to him by going down. I don't know, like give up, which led him to find the pocket of air.
I don't know. It seemed like a weird flashback to give him the idea to go under. I'm sure there was something else.
And I like how they throw in flashbacks of things you didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, oh, hey, he remembers this thing that you guys didn't even know about until just now.
I did like the sort of Queen Mary and Elizabeth little flashbacks they had, like
The
showing
history.
why Tarkus and Bruford were just had all that anger within them and
Right.
death. So that's why they were so powerful and easy for Dio to corrupt, because they
Yep.
had all this hatred in them, which was nice when the next episode came along.
Right.
I think that's all I got for this one.
Yeah, basically, Dio leaves. He's just like, yeah, these guys got it. I'm gonna go turn the village into vampire. See ya.
Yeah, Dio just bounces. He's like, yeah. Which, hey, dude, he had all the confidence she could have. Dude, Dio was giving off some epic energy this week.
Definitely.
Like, we only saw him for a little bit, and he did no fighting, but the energy he was producing, S tier. Like,
he's got that big dick energy.
oh yeah, and it's well deserved. It's well deserved. But yeah, so the next episode,
The Courage for Tomorrow basically starts with Bruford surviving JoJo's punch from underwater.
yeah, they continue their fight, and then JoJo notices that, he don't really want to do this anymore. And they have that little standoff, and it's like, oh, JoJo, by the power of friendship, I'm saved.
Well, before that, JoJo gets captured by his hair to the tree, and that's the second epic part, is that Bruford is like, I'm going to chop you in half because you can't move from this tree, and he comes swinging his sword at JoJo, and JoJo's like, nope, come on, kick, and he kicks his sword, blocking it, and also transferring the sunlight power through the blade like a conductor, and melting off Bruford's arm.
That's the image up here for viewers of what happened. Yeah, and he basically melts the dude's arm off. Which,
right. It is. And just the science behind it. It's
yeah, it has some decent science with it.
Yeah.
Speaking of science, we did miss one thing from the last episode. That is the scene where Speedwagon grabs Apelli's arm and put it on his stomach, like, I'll heal your arm.
Oh, yeah.
The dude was like, I can't do anything. Oh no, what can I do? Like, he's like, my arm is frozen. And yeah, Speedwagon's like, I can heal it. And he just grabs and puts his freezing arm. It's like basically hurting himself.
Shirt up and just, what is the science behind that? Because
it's like the transferring the
way.
body heat, I think. Like, because his arm was like frostbite frozen. So he's putting like his warmth of his very hot abs, apparently, onto this dude's arm to warm it up to get the blood flowing. I think that was because they were saying something about it. I don't remember what they exactly said, but they had mentioned something about like the theory behind it in the episode. Like, oh well, these people use it in this scenario and blah blah.
Right. I don't know. I'm sure that it's something that's different that might have got lost in the English dub.
It could be, but yeah. Anyways, back to that where after that epic kick and all that, yeah. Essentially, JoJo's power can heal zombies. Power of friendship, love.
There was so much love. I mean, there were flowers growing around
Yeah.
him and everything, and
we have like Captain Obvious Speedwagon. It's like, oh no, this guy's too big. We can't fight him. Oh no! Like, all Speedwagon was there for is to tell us facts that we already know from watching the.
he's the commentator. Hey, if you don't know what's going on, this is what's going on. Did you go to the bathroom and miss something? Well, let me tell you about his gentlemanliness.
Yeah, but yeah. So the dude gives him JoJo the sword. Like, hey, here's my sword. It says luck, but I'm gonna put a P on here for pluck, which I guess means courage. But then yeah, they're up against Tarkus, who's just a freaking brute.
Yeah, he's just like he just stomps on his dead comrade's armor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a fuck.
He's like, this guy is too smart. I don't use brain. I use strength to crush everyone before I think. And then they made a kite out of leaves, essentially.
Yeah, they
which could
noticed a
carry
bunch of them.
3 adults and 1 child. Well, 2 adults, 1 JoJo, and a child. JoJo is like 2 adults and 1.
Dude, seriously.
He is huge. Not as huge as Tarkus, but he's huge.
Right. But yeah, they're just like, oh, we're gonna glide out of here.
And then I liked how Poco just mooned Tarkus.
Right?
He just like, sticks his butt out.
Can't
moons
get
him.
me, spanks his ass and everything, and Tarkus is just like, leap?
Right. Just leaps. And then they end up like landing on that tower, which was the tower for training the knights. Dumb move. And then, yeah, freaking Tarkus just crashes into it, and they're like, oh, he's done. Oh, no, he's not. Then we get the Tom Petty flashback, where, yeah, he Zeppeli goes to India and learns about Haman. And
right.
Learns his, like, he's gonna die, but he's like, whatever, if it accomplishes my goal.
Means to an end, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I liked how he learned it in India and basically had to learn. First, he learned of it from a doctor who was using it to heal patients, which I think that's interesting because they're using it for violence, but this doctor was using it to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of makes you think, like, what kind of properties does this have?
Right.
And then, he goes to see the monk that taught this doctor how to use it. And that's when he gets the prophecy, that he's going to die someday if he learns it. And he's just like, well, I kind of have to, because it's the only thing to help me take on the vampires that I've unleashed on this world.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, it's epic. That's like, hey, I got to do this. If it kills me, hey, whatever, cool. Let's do it. And, yeah, so then JoJo gets stuck in that neck clamp.
Yep.
Two-headed dragon thing.
Yeah.
And he's getting his ass handed to him.
Yeah, basically it's a collar and then a long chain that's attached up through the ceiling to the other side, and then it comes out of the ceiling with another collar. Him and Tarkus are both collared to each other, essentially.
Uh-huh. Now,
yep.
I have to say, even though Poco did piss himself, he showed more balls in this episode than Kobe did for those 2 episodes of One Piece we watched. Cause
I literally was just thinking that.
Because, yes, he pissed himself, but first off, he mooned Tarkus. Then
right.
He was like, pissed himself, like, I'm scared, but I have to do this because I'm the only one that can. And he crawled in that little thing, got a full-on punch from Tarkus against the wall, and still managed to crawl over and open the door for Zeppeli and Speedwagon.
Right.
Like, that kid took a punch from this giant who JoJo's getting his ass handed to.
Yeah, he's like, I don't care if you're a kid. Bam!
Dude, Poco has some balls. Like, respect for Poco.
Definitely.
And then we get that last scene.
Oh, dude, seriously. I almost didn't want to end it on that episode, but there's only 3 more of this part of the season, so, like, if we're keeping it in episodes in 3s, like, we had to end it on that one.
And it works out. We'll end that part in 3 episodes, so it works out. God, what an ending to that episode.
Right.
I think that's pretty much the 3 episodes, man. The last 2 were so good. And it left, except that ending left such a good taste in my head. Like, I am eager to get the next 3 in.
Right. This guy got that itch, like, oh man, is it time yet? I gotta see what happens.
Some JoJo. But, yeah, you got anything else to put in on these? Before we jump into our last little bits?
One of the things that I really loved about these episodes that we watched, where there were a lot of, how do you say it?
Are you talking about the words?
Yeah, like an onomatopoeia, a sound or something like that.
Yeah, so like example, when Bloofer just first popped up, and he swung his hair at JoJo and caught his arm, and it was sucking the blood, and it was like, suck, suck, suck on the screen, or like, thump, thump, thump. Yeah, they do a lot of that, and it's really cool. I like that.
Or like menacing.
Yeah, I like that, which we sort of saw it on the kick scene. It shows like smash. They do it all the time, and it is really good. It's sort of like on par with like the One Piece sound effects, I think. Like, it just adds that little special thing to it.
Right, and it continues throughout the JoJo series, but like it's really prominent in these episodes. Like, I just like it because it adds to the effect.
Yeah, no,
especially when it's like big looming letters, But yeah, I mean, honestly, like these 3 episodes were great. I'm right there with you. I mean, I know I've watched them so many times, but like I love this series, and I'm excited to get into it with you.
Yeah, no, I'm having a blast watching it. Like I said, when I first jumped into it, I heard everybody's like, it's not that great. Like, especially the first season sucks. I am enjoying this. Like, yeah, it has its flaws, but like it's enjoyable, and I'm like wanting to come back more and more. So I don't get the JoJo hate.
They probably meant the first 3 episodes suck, but they basically didn't get past that.
I still enjoyed them. I mean, they weren't the first one wasn't the greatest, but the other 2 were fine.
Right.
You can't expect much from a first episode. It's got to introduce so much stuff, so it's hard for a first episode to be perfect. And this is an older anime, so gotta throw that on there too.
Right.
All right, so what's your favorite scene?
Oh man, that's a tough one because there's the very disturbing Jack the Ripper jumping out of a horse's neck scene.
Yes.
That is like epic. There's the part with him getting his head punched through the wall and exploding. Just anything with Dio on that
yes.
pile of rock in the moonlight, just doing his elegant Dio pose.
Yes.
The part where JoJo deflected Bruford's sword with a kick, like that was an epic scene. Just in that part right there.
Yep.
Yeah. And then honestly, the last part just before the to be continued with friggin' Zappelli striding into the thing, talking about his prophecy and how he's ready, and Roundabout playing in the background over it.
Yes. I wanted that to be my favorite scene for like if I had to choose one, but honestly, like as much as I love that scene, I'm saving that for my quote. My favorite scene, I want to put my favorite scene as just Dio in the moonlight being a fucking badass. Like, I have to. Like, I loved it so much, and I'm like, that image is just carved in my brain. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just stuck, and I love it.
And actually, I forgot one more scene. That's Zappelli walking across the water going,
Oh, man, yeah, that was so funny. Least favorite scene, I have the kite of leaves. I didn't care for that. I thought that was so dumb. Like, I didn't like it more than I didn't like the fact that they sort of rushed the Hamon train. That kite scene was just, like, so dumb. Like, I get it, it's there, it's a way for him to leave, but, like, it could have done something better. Like, oh, hey, did you know we could use Hamon to jump really far?
Right,
like,
or we could use it to stick to the wall.
Yeah, like, there could have been something else. And, like, let's just make a kite out of these leaves. Like, come on.
And they said they magnetized them. It's like, okay.
So for me, that was the worst scene.
Worst scene for me. You know, honestly, I can't really say that there is a worst scene.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I could agree that the kite scene was stupid, but like, it's not exactly the worst scene. But there isn't really a worst scene, I don't think.
For me, that was just one of the scenes where I was like, meh, I could have lived without it. They could have done it better.
Oh, actually, maybe the worst scene was the beginning of episode 4 with Speedwagon peeking in on Arena and JoJo and being a creepo.
Yeah, he was being a little creepy there. Okay, my quote. Is tonight the night that I go to my grave? Fate is a fickle mistress, but I cannot deny her. That's my quote. I had a few others I was pending on, but then I saw that, and I'm like, yeah, because that was so epic. Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
Getting a little choked up there.
Let's go. Do this.
Right. Oh, man. Honestly, mine was the one that I said earlier with Dio, where Zappelli was telling him, hey, come down here and fight us, you know? And he's just like, I'm a friggin' god. I'm not coming down there.
Right. He's just like, yeah, screw you, dude. You guys are bugs. Don't talk to me.
Right? How dare you compare yourself to me?
Right. All right. This is a tough one. Best character of these episodes.
Oh, man.
My first pick, my initial pick, is, though we hardly saw him, Dio for being such a badass with his big dick energy, just like, yeah, fuck you all. That's where I'm at. I could go for Zappelli for his end part.
Yeah.
Speedwagon, Poco, they don't hold up. Jack the Ripper, it was cool to see him. He didn't live long. JoJo, it's just doing the protagonist stuff. It wasn't nothing special. He just did a lot of breathing.
Right.
No one else was really that. So, like, for me, first pick is Dio, but I could be swung for Zappelli.
Yeah, I would have to go Dio as well. Just like you said, he wasn't in it a lot, but the scenes that he was in it, Like, dude, he just rocked his shit, dude.
Oh yeah, like he was so badass. He didn't even need to be in the scenes, and you're still just like, dude, Dio was such a badass. Like,
Right.
you remember like last episode, Dio was being such a badass.
Yep.
All right, well, dang, I think this is it. We've reached the end.
Yep. So next week we'll be doing the next 3 episodes of One Piece.
Yeah.
I believe you said that we're going to be getting a little bit of a backstory.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We'll get into a little backstory of Luffy, how he obtained the gum fruit, and how he got the straw hat, why he's so set on being a pirate, blah blah blah. And I think it's only 2 episodes, and then we'll get the 3rd episode, getting ready to start the next little arc or whatever.
All right. Well,
should be a good little. I don't know. That backstory's good. So Oda does really good jobs with backstories. Like when some of the new crew comes in and you start getting their backstories, you will be teary and crying because he will probably just have to rate like the most saddest backstory at some point, because every crew member that gets a backstory, it is so fucking depressing.
man, I don't know if I could handle all those emotions.
Don't worry, just breathe.
Just breathe. Let the Haman flow through you in a barrage. Turquoise, indigo, purple. Blah!
We're getting the Power Rangers here.
Right?
All right, hey, thanks for listening, watching, all that fun stuff. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share our stuff, mention us, tell your friends about us, tell your parents about us.
Ideas. Still waiting on Grandma's casserole recipes.
Yes.
Shoot, if you even want to throw in some cookie recipes or some easy dessert
just
stuff.
Any type of recipe.
Like, I'm a fat boy. I like to eat.
Yeah,
you know?
dude, we were down for some food. Like, bring it on.
Seriously.
We will literally cook it, make a video of us cooking it, and then eat it. And tell you how good or bad it is. We probably won't say it's bad because we're eating it for you, but, you know, unless you, like, purposely send us a recipe that's, like, garbage, then it's shame on you. This is the internet. People will do that. But, yeah, you know, links will all be below. Joe's Twitch, my website, the Patreon that you can support us with if you feel like it. We're getting ready to start a little gaming thing on our YouTube. So we're going to both be playing Final Fantasy VIII, like about an hour at a time, maybe a couple episodes a week, just sort of comparing how we play through games.
Right.
So we'll both be playing the same game at like roughly the same pace, in a sense. Like the videos will all be about an hour long for easier consumption, and you get to see what differences we take when we play games. So like, does this guy just spend like an hour leveling? Does this guy spend an hour searching everything? So we're gonna try it, see if it's good or not.
I'm gonna go fishing.
I'll just play poker.
Right? Or what's that card game that they have?
Oh god, yeah, they do have a card game in there, don't they? I will probably
yes,
play
they
that.
do.
Yeah. But yeah, so don't forget to check that out.
Thanks for joining us.
And if you're not
Remember,
a weeb,
what are you doing
here? God damn it! If you're not a weeb, what are you doing here?
If you're not a weeb, why are you here?
If you're not a weeb, why are you here? Yes.
Yeah.
One of these days we'll probably get this.
We
or
will
not.
get it one day.
And when we do, it'll probably be one of those situations where we didn't record at all.
Right? Or maybe we have to do the fusion thing, you know, like this with our cameras, like.
Oh, I thought you were gonna continue.
Oh.
All right. Well, hey, we'll catch y'all later.
Have a good night.